My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to Catachrist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.catachrist.com, and we're speaking with legendary LA Guns drummer Steve Riley. Welcome to the show today, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Jason. Thanks so much for having me on.
And I got to say, Steve, I've had a chance to listen to the new CD, and I'm just loving it. I mean, if you were to ask me where I would put this album, I would say I would kind of put it between the debut album and Cocked and Loaded. I mean, it's that good.
Oh, man, that makes me feel good that you like it, and I'm glad you put it on par with those albums. I love both of those albums, and so far the response from the fans has been really positive, so that's great. Thank you so much for liking it.
Yeah, and let me ask you, I got to say, 2020, one thing, haven't had a lot of new music, so, and with the COVID lockdowns and everything, and bands not able to get out there and tour like y'all once did, and hopefully we'll go back to that soon. I dig the fact that you still went in and did this new album, and you're giving the fans something new, because there's some bands that are like, we're just going to hold off on releasing any new music until after all this COVID stuff.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that decision, because it's a great one you made.
Well, I tell you what, we really lucked out, Jason, because the deal is we finished the album in December 2019 last year.
Wow.
and we toyed around with the idea of maybe recording it this year, and it would have been very difficult. So we finished it in December, and we had it all done, mastered and everything. We were going to release it in March of this year,
but then,
go out the whole album and then go out on tour. As soon as we found out all the dates were going to be postponed till 2021, we had to go into a different mode, and we decided that everybody was going to be home. They weren't going to be able to go to shows. Yeah. So let's release a single every two and a half months, and we will have a fresh thing to work every 2.5 months. And that's what we did, and Golden Robot Records played it perfectly, and now we're at the point where the whole album is out, and we're real excited.
Yeah, like I said, it's a great sounding album, and I got to ask you too. The other thing that I think really fits on the album is your singer, Kurt Frolich. Where the heck did you find him? Because I mean, to me, he sounds like an American version of Phil Lewis, in the sense that he seems like he's got that voice that just kind of really fits with the band.
Totally, we were very fortunate because Scotty Griffin had already been involved with the band, so him playing lead guitar was like a no-brainer. But with the singer, we were getting ready to go into the mode of doing an audition, and that's very grueling, trying to find a singer and do an audition after audition. He was the very first guy we looked at.
Wow.
Somebody in Vegas told me, check Kurt Frolich out. He said, this guy is really good. He's kind of slipped through the cracks. He's been trying to get original bands and cover bands off the ground. And he turned out to be the very first guy we looked at. We knew he was great. He has a lot of respect for LA Guns, and he was a fan of LA Guns. So when we play any of the old catalog, he stays true to it too. And he's just a great singer, great multi-instrumentalist, and we were so fortunate to find him right out of the gate. We didn't have to audition anybody. Yeah,
I mean, like I want people to understand, like when I listen to the album, I'm not saying he sounds anything like Phil Lewis, but he fits the part. He fits the band, like you said.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you get a singer and he doesn't exactly he kind of changes the sound of the band. That's not at all. This album's got that classic LA Guns sound, and I think he's a big part of that.
Yeah, I agree too. Kelly, Nichols, and myself, we went into this album making sure that we didn't stray too far from the LA Guns sound that all of our fans like. And we had co-written all of the early material too. All the band, with the five of us, the classic lineup, we all wrote that material. Kelly wrote Ballad of Jane. And the thing is that we wanted to make sure that we stayed true to our sound.
Yeah.
We scored a singer that is in that same mold as us too, with Kurt, and him being an LA Guns fan too, and his songwriting, everything about him is in the same mold as us too. So that worked out great, that we were able to stay true to our sound, and even the new material is just very up the alley of LA Guns. It's right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of my, I dig every song on this album. I'll say that. There's no filler material on here. It's all killer. But, one of my all-time favorites, I got to say, is a track, I've been hearing this from a lot of people, is You Can't Walk Away, and I kind of put that up there right with the Ballad of Jane. It's that good, you know.
Oh man, thank you. You want to know something? That is, we all brought in material. That was a song that I wrote with a friend of mine years ago.
Wow.
And I had been sitting on that song for so long, and for some reason or another, it just didn't get recorded. And I brought it into pre-production, and the guys loved it. Kurt took it, and he twisted the chorus around a little bit and added something to the chorus. And I'm just so happy with the way that turned out. And finally, I got it recorded. But that's a song that's been written. I actually have had it since the 80s.
Wow. And are you, so that must feel good that, you know, that song laying around that many years. And, because I've been reading reviews online and stuff about the new album, and that's one of the songs that everybody just seems to be loving. That you have to be loving that response that the song is that old and people are just loving it.
Totally. And for you, like in other people, to put it in the category of Ballad of Jane, which is one of my favorite songs and one of our biggest songs, that really makes me feel good too. It makes me feel like the song really came together, and that it's really accessible, and I just love the way it turned out. You know, I know a lot of people like to buy singles, so we're going to release a couple more singles from this, maybe one in January and one in March before we go out and start these dates, and You Can't Walk Away will be one of those singles, and we'll see how it does. I think it could cross over. It could, that song could be played on rock stations or in Nashville, anywhere. I think it's a really accessible song.
It could be one of those tracks. You know, you're definitely right about that. Now, talk about, you know, obviously, as you mentioned, Kelly Nichols was in the original classic lineup, and he's been away from the scene for quite a while. So how did you go about getting him back in the band? Did he reach out to you, or was it a matter of you giving him a call and seeing if he was interested?
Well, you know what? We've stayed best friends, and every time we would tour and go to New York, he would come over and play and jam with us. But he got into a bunch of different stuff, and he was doing a lot of art and artwork for people. And he had reached out and said he would like to join when we were doing Hollywood Forever in 2012. And Phil wasn't into it for one reason or another. I was totally into it, getting Kelly back in the band. But when this whole thing came down and Phil left, I called Kelly and I said, hey, you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, Riley, what took you so long? And so he was right back in the band, and we had been, like I said, we stayed best friends, and we're battery mates, the rhythm section. We have a lot of history. So getting Kelly back in the band has been such a plus. He's not like only a prolific songwriter, because he wrote Crawl, Well-Oiled Machine, and he wrote Renegades, and so the thing is any of the artwork that you see too on the covers or on the merchandise or on the website, he does all of that artwork too. So this guy has got a great eye, and he's a great artist, and having him back in the band is just a blast.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's two-fifths of that original lineup, and like you said, he's more than just a great bass player. I mean, he's a great singer, songwriter. I mean, I gotta tell you, one of my all-time favorite albums was the last one he appeared on, and he had that song that he sang, "Nothing Better to Do."
Nothing Better to Do, right?
Yeah.
He does. We do that live too. We told him we got to do it live. We played M3 Festival last year, and we told him you got to do this. So he did it live. It goes over great, and he's a gas to play with, man. He's really a good guy to be around and a good guy to work with. And we've, like I said, even when he left the band in 95, 96, we stayed best friends through the whole thing.
Yeah, and I got to ask, on that same album, you guys did a great kind of unexpected cover of 10 Years After's I'd Love to Change the World. Talk a little bit about that, because that was a cool cover I thought you guys did.
Well, that was a song that we had always wanted to do, too, and it's just one of our favorite songs, too. So that was like, you know, almost a no-brainer. If we were going to do a cover, we would do that song, and it turned out really, really good, and if it didn't end up on that album, it probably would have ended up on the Rips the Covers off. Phil Lewis too. So, you know, it was one of those songs that was a favorite of ours for years.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, Talk about getting back with Scotty Griffin. I mean, it's kind of an obvious choice. Like you said, you'd worked with him before, and you'd already had Kelly back on bass. So was he kind of your first guy you approached about that?
Absolutely, because, like he had been playing bass in the band. He took the gig because he could play bass too.
Yeah.
And we were touring and we were recording, and it was just a smart move on his part to work all the time. And so when Kelly came back, he thought that he might be out of a gig, and I called him and I said, no, listen, you're a lead guitar player, because we had recorded together too.
Yeah.
And he had picked up a guitar in the studio, and I could tell he was just great. And I said, Scotty, you should be playing lead. And he was just bowled over, and he said, man, I am totally into it. And so it was one of the first things I did was call Scotty once Kelly got back in the band and tell Scotty, you got to play guitar in this band. And I just thought he did a great job on the album.
Oh, too. Yeah. And I got to tell you, the whole new album is great, but another track that really stood out to me was Lost Boys. Now, years ago, there's a movie called Lost Boys. Was that at all an influence on this song?
Yeah, that's a Scotty Griffin song. He brought that in.
Wow.
He had wanted to record that. He had been sitting on that since we did Hollywood Forever, because he played bass on that album. And when we were doing pre-production, he brought in the gist of that song. And pretty much all the music was done, but it didn't make the album. Kurt took it and he put a nice melody and a great hook on it, and I just love the way that song turned out too. That's one of my favorites. So if we do a couple more singles in January and March, I think it's going to be You Can't Walk Away and Lost Boys that we'll do.
Amazing. And then a great kind of acoustic track you have on here is Wood. That's another interesting track, but I love that one too.
Oh man, that's when Kurt brought that in, the singer Kurt Frolich, he brought that song in. He had written Witchcraft, All That You Are, and Why Ask Why, and he brought in Wood, and I was like, wow, this song is amazing. And it was just a great song, and I knew it right off the bat. And recording it was just so much fun too, because I got to produce this album, and I got to do some tricks on that song too. And it was just a great song to work with. And that's a Kurt Frolich song, man. He's just so talented. He's a great songwriter too.
And then Crawl, I would say, and Well-Oiled Machine. Those are kind of the most probably, and Renegades even, old school LA Guns. It really got that great sleazy kind of LA Gun sound, but that's what the fans are going to love, I think.
Yeah, and Well-Oiled Machine, I got to tell you, Crawl, Well-Oiled Machine, and Renegades, those are songs that Kelly Nichols brought in, and they just happened to be the first three singles. We thought that they would work well, one after another. And Well-Oiled Machine, I just think that's a fun song, and it just pushes heavy air out of the speakers, and it's just a chunker, and it's definitely old school LA Guns.
Yeah, and I have to say, Steve, in listening to the whole album from top to bottom, I mean, this is kind of proof. I don't know what it cost you to make the whole album, but this kind of proof that you don't need a big budget to, record a great album.
Absolutely. And, I was always used to having like a nice, comfortable budget, a nice, comfortable timeline to do a pre-production. And this album, we did pre-production, like I said, over 2 months. We exchanged files because we all live all over the country. We exchanged files in the summer of 2019, and we exchanged song ideas and suggestions on what we could do with those songs. We exchanged about 40 songs, and we picked 10 that we thought would work out really good together. And I had the guys fly out here, bro, and we did 2 days of pre-production in this rehearsal studio, and then the third day we went right into the recording studio and did 7 days of recording. The guys flew home, and I mixed it with the engineer for 5 days, mastered it, and we did it in two and a half weeks. And I think the situation was great for us because we really captured something raw, and it was very organic and we didn't have a lot of time to dwell over it and say, let's change this or let's not do this. We did what we were going to do, and I think we captured something, and it definitely proved that you can do something with a shorter budget, with a little bit of preparation, but you can go in and do it in like 2.5 weeks, and I mean, that's everything. Recording, mixing, and mastering it, and that's what we did in 2.5 weeks.
So was there any extra material left over, like that you recorded but didn't, there just wasn't enough room on the album for?
Oh yeah, because the other songs that we exchanged, we had like about 35, 40 songs, and we only picked these 10 songs out because we thought they would work together and flow really well on an album. But yeah, we're going to do a couple more albums with Golden Robot Records, and we have a wealth of material, and it's always great to have 4 songwriters in the band because you're never really starving for writing, and we will definitely be recording some of the other material that didn't make it on this album. We've got a ton of songs.
I mean, that's one thing about LA Guns that I always, took notice of, is the fact that the songwriting was very strong. The fact that in spite of a lot of other drama that has gone on over the years between the band members, you're one of a few bands that actually, splits the songwriting.
Yeah, I tell so many people, you can have everything in the band. You can have great players. You can have a great look and a great stage and great equipment. Nothing happens if you don't have songs. If you don't have the song or songs, man, really nothing's going to happen for you. And I've been fortunate with all the bands that I've worked with that there were some really great songwriters in the band. And LA Guns, I got to tell you, from the very beginning, 87 on, we were just always were lucky that we had really good songwriters, and we were able to bring just the songs in studios and finish them together. And that's what happened on Renegades. We got some 4 guys that can really write songs, and we all had like a ton of material we were sitting on.
Yeah, and I think it makes for a tighter band when, not one guy just writes everything and gets all the credit, that you split it among the 4 of you.
Absolutely, and that's why we share credits on all the songs, too, because we know that somebody's going to bring in a really great idea for a song, but we know that we're going to all finish it together in the studio and put our little touch on it. So right from the very beginning when I joined LA Guns, it was one of the things that I really requested, that we really share credit on all the songs, because we're all going to put our little mark on it, our suggestion, and that's what we did with Renegades. That's why you'll see 4 songwriters on all the our songs.
Yeah, they're interesting, and I got to ask you, because is the battle like over the names? Because I know realistically you and Tracii own 50% of names, so you have every right to be doing this, just so people know that, but. I mean, there's no real legal battle going on, is there still?
No, you know what I mean? It's just, it's something that we got to figure out how we're going to handle it, but it's something that can coexist. It's been happening since 2006 when me and Phil were together, and Tracii decided to start a second LA Guns. And then I've had to just kind of deal with it since then, and I know it's a little bit confusing for the fans. This is why Kelly, when he does any of the artwork, he makes sure he puts all 4 of our names on everything that we're doing. We want to just try to create less confusion for the fans, but it's something that we just got to deal with right now.
I think you guys have done a decent job. Even the other band, in the sense, they call theirs LA Guns featuring Tracii and Phil, and you guys featuring Kelly and Steve. So I think the fans that are real fans know the difference.
Exactly, and what Kelly did too was he actually redesigned the badge. So it would be our own badge too, and they have their own badge. So I think that we're doing pretty good with distinguishing and letting the fans know who's doing what and what's going on, But it's one of those things, when you're a band that's been around this long, a lot of bands have gone through it, and it's kind of something you just got to deal with. Now.
And I do think, like you were saying, that, this album alone, this new album you guys just put out, great 10 brand new tracks, and fans are going to love it. But I think, too, like you're saying, Steve, any band that's worth their salt, you could be talking about Kiss, Aerosmith, bands that have been around that long. That's part of the reason you have such a staying power, such a loyal fan base, because you guys do have the songs, you know?
Yeah, you know what, and I think that it's real important. I got friends in other bands out here in LA that they haven't recorded any new material in a long time, and you know, they got a great catalog to sit on. But I always thought that for a band's soul, for feeling good, that you should stay creative, you should stay writing. We know the record sales aren't going to be what they used to be.
Yeah.
We know it's a different world out there. But just for your own soul, for the band, I think staying creative and writing new material is really good for a band and staying in that mode. But, you know, when we do a live show, we know that 3/4 of the show is going to be our back catalog that the fans really love and they want to hear it. And then we could sprinkle in maybe 4 new songs, and that's just a good thing for a band to have some new material and feel really creative, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I remember you said that, you know, right before, you know, Phil left the last time and you guys split, you'd wanted to, like, do a new album. He wasn't really into it, which I don't understand, because him and Tracii released new music. But again, it's a great new album, you know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and stuff happens like that too, especially when you're a band that's almost 35 years old, and people like grow in different directions, and I've gotten used to that, and I know that you just got to deal with a lot of different stuff, and some people don't want to record, and some people do want to record. I think me and Kelly, Kurt, and Scotty, we're into recording. We already know that once we finish the dates in 2021 in the late fall, we're going to go back in and do a new album, and we're going to do that. We're going to just keep creating new material.
I mean, you guys are really one of a few bands, like I said, and that's what I dig, because not just for you know, coronavirus lockdowns and stuff and what's going on in the world today, but a lot of bands just for the simple fact, oh, nobody's buying CDs, why bother doing it? But
exactly,
you know,
and like, if you can get past the point of knowing that, you know, you're not going to be on MTV like you were, and you're not going to sell the millions of albums that you were before. You just got to get into that mode of just wanting to be creative and not rest on your laurels, and just say, I've got the back catalog and I can go tour the world with that. Yeah, that's great and everything, but to be able to put Renegades on and know that we just did it and we just put this new product together, it feels great.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Steve, mentioning MTV, you guys, especially the Ballad of Jane and all that, we're all over MTV, but, you know, Lead Guns has actually survived longer than MTV. And I was reading something on Facebook the other day, which is kind of funny. It's the 30th something anniversary of MTV, but there's actually only 14 years of when they played music, which is kind of...
I know, and that's a shame too, because when they made that decision at MTV to do that, it really stalled a lot of stuff too, not just in rock and roll, and a lot of genres that were on MTV, and it stalled it out, and I don't know, man. Hey, listen, can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, brother.
Yeah, okay, so Steve, I just got 2 more questions because I know you are a busy man. So basically, in regards to what we were saying about MTV, with the music industry being what it is, any chance you'll still do a video for 1 or 2 of the songs?
Yeah, you know what? We were going to do an acoustic video for Crawl, and we were thinking about, once the album was out, we can get that together and do it in different locations. So we were thinking about doing that, but to actually get the budget for a video,
that's the thing.
These days it's difficult.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last question I was going to ask you, because this is so very true. Like we we're saying, a lot, you know, there's a lot of drama with some of the band members over the years. You come across like as a really nice guy. When you've had people like throwing mud at you, how do you stay so cool and calm and everything?
I always thought that was maybe like a one of the reasons why I got to work so long.
Yeah.
In this business, if you're not cool with people, it's going to come back and haunt you. So I just try to be cool with people and try to stay friends with people and understand that everybody's not going to agree on stuff. And we're not even going to stay together. And I think it's a real an important thing to be cool with people in this business, and it'll come back in spades and let you work for a long time.
Well, that's certainly been your story, Steve. And final question for you, and this may be a hard one. Being that you're a drummer, I was curious, who would be kind of your major drum influence as far as one of the guys that really influenced you to do what you do?
Wow, he passed away this year, man. Ginger Baker.
Oh, wow.
Ginger Baker was God to me because I'm a little bit older than the guys in LA Guns, and he was the guy that changed the face of drumming. And I know he might not have been the best technician, or maybe like Bonham, but he was the guy that laid down this framework of rock drumming, and he was like, he was God to me. He was my biggest idol, and I've loved a lot of drummers, Ian Pace and Cozy Powell and John Bonham and Carmine Appice, but Ginger Baker's the man, bro.
Well, and you mentioned John Bonham. I just got to ask you, can you believe 2020 marks the 40th anniversary of his death?
Oh, man, it was unbelievable, and I remember the day he passed away, too.
I bet, yeah.
And other drummers calling me saying, did you hear what happened? And, wow, what a loss. It's unbelievable. It's 40 years. Wow.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I had a pleasure talking to you today. We'll keep in touch, and maybe we can do it again down the line, but I'm really enjoying the new album. I want to just say I urge people to go out and get it, because from top to bottom, and I'll just close with this, Steve, is I'd say the top two albums for this year has got to be the new AC/DC album and this album.
Right on, Jason. I thank you so much for the support. And then the other thing is I want the fans to know to just go to laguns.net, and they could find out how to order the album and see our tour dates and see everything that me and Kelly Nichols are doing.
Thanks for doing this, Steve. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks again, brother. Be safe, and I'll see you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.